Hello,
Hello, hello. What's up, traders? How are we doing, guys? God bless each and every single one of you. Hope you're having a stand-up freaking day. Let's get rid of that OneDrive notification. Today, we're going to be covering stock ticker WENDY'S, W-E-N, and going over the potential squeeze scenario for this stock. I'm wearing my silly goose hat for all you silly gooses in the chat, and that rhymed, low-key bars. Just make sure to slap the subscribe button and the like button. That way the algorithm can help push this channel, baby. Let's jump straight into it, though, because WENDY'S is a fascinating stock, one that I personally believe is pretty significantly undervalued. And I'm going to go over a huge synopsis here of why I believe that is true, going over the chart, the fundamentals, and some technical indicators that would give you reason to believe that this thing is ready to make its macro swing higher, along with a lot of the risk on assets. So let's jump into it, guys. I'm freaking excited about this video. I've been delaying this video because I think there's a lot of internet overhype on WENDY'S, but right off the bat, right, looking at the daily chart on WEN, guys, WENDY delivering those freaking tenderlicious tendies off of the rip, off of this downtrend breaking. This is a 2-year downtrend, right? So you saw a lot of steam come off of the initial break, 33%, and then a full retest and a breakout off of that, right? Off of that retest, you saw a nice little gap up. And although that is not, it doesn't have to fail, right? It is a potential target that we could watch for on the swing down here, potentially to 631, right? You're currently trading about a buck below or a buck above that. And it would take some momentum to swing you further down, as on the local time frame, you just broke this downtrend. But what is the scenario, right? What is the possibility that that actually occurs? You could see a potential shoulder, head, right shoulder. If you see this thing break up here and reject right around this wick at 889, guys. If you reject that, it's possible that you see this full length of the head to the shoulders, and then this potential rejection to make a actually technically confluent lower low, right? Just kind of drawing this out with the last lower low. So that is fascinating to me when you look at this kind of trend line here that you have in support. Now, you made bullish div on it once, I believe. No, you didn't. Maybe on the 4-hour. Yeah, on the 4-hour you did. Right? So on the 4-hour, you already made bullish div. It is the potential, if this is a bearish swing down, that this thing see 569, right? And although that's not guaranteed, I am significantly bullish on the longer scale because look at this volume, guys. There is so much to love about this chart here. When you look at the volume, seeing on the monthly time frame, guys, this is the 3-month. Let's go to the monthly really quick. And you'll see just how macro this freaking breakout really is. Look at the volume here on WENDY'S. Can't believe I'm saying that. Upwards of 500 million shares in volume, 600 million shares traded. You zoom out all the way, guys. There is not a single candle in WENDY'S history that even mirrors that. And then you look at the monthly time frame, right? That was your most oversold period in the entire stock on that macro of a chart, right? And then you look at your technical bearish, hidden bearish or bullish divergence, looking at the higher low and the lower low on WENDY'S. Now, I'm not saying that these two are correlated in any way, but one stock that I played this out with on this macro of a scale was Intel, guys. Look at Intel on the monthly. And then let's go to the RSI. This is a beautiful, beautiful example of bullish divergence playing out like this. A macro bullish divergence on a stock that played out to our favor, right? So looking at Intel, this is something that we covered a long ago, traders, but let it not be forgotten. This bullish divergence that you had on Intel on the monthly time frame absolutely ripped ass, right? Look at the low here and then look at the RSI. You made a uptrend in the RSI after touching the lowest point in the RSI's history, guys. History on Intel's monthly, and then you made a lower low, and then you absolutely ripped from 18 upwards of 136. Now we know why that happened, right? Government contracts, all that, yada yada yada. But looking at WENDY'S today, right? Looking at Wendy's, there is some validity behind this squeeze theory, right? You are the most oversold in Wendy's freaking history on the monthly time frame. You just saw the most bullish volume on Wendy's history. And then now looking at Robinhood, guys, this is even more fascinating to me. Looking at Robinhood, look at these headlines, right? Wendy's stock catches a short squeeze as activists turn up the pressure. There has been no squeeze on this thing. In fact, you look at the short interest, right? You've only been down 2%. You're still hovering at 35.15%. And I'm guaranteeing you that happened because shorts got scared out of their positions. Now you look at some things that will validate that, right? Look at Robinhood's net buying. It's not negative on Wendy's, right? Some people getting shaken out of their positions. But then you look at hedge fund buying. You see 5 million shares in quarter one alone, guys. 5 million shares traded on Wendy's to the upside, right, from hedge funds. So that 2%, I almost guarantee you, is hedge funds covering their positions, absolutely terrified that this thing may go significantly higher because they know it, traders, that this thing is significantly underpriced. You look at insiders. Insiders have been buying in pretty significant lump shares. And I've said this for AMC. I'll say this for Wendy's. Insiders sell for many reasons. They will buy for only one. They think it's going to go higher and they think it's fairly priced. Looking at the monthly chart though, right? You have that touch of monthly bullish divergence as the stock goes higher, but the RSI goes and makes its lowest low ever. So I thought that was fascinating. I want to cover that for you guys. Now looking at the daily time frame, on the short term, you have been in an RSI uptrend for the past year, right? Looking at January of 2025, you have lost significant ground on this stock, right? Minus 56%, while the RSI makes higher lows all along the way. Now, what is fascinating here is you've gotten that breakout retest and then another spring off of that. The technical, we take from this candle right here, you've actually been respecting this kind of megaphone pattern here, in which you make higher highs and either flat or lower lows, right? You could argue lower lows if you do it like that, right? So there is the argument regardless of where you go to, right? Let's delete some lines here. Regardless of where you go to, traders, there is the argument that you come down and you make that next touch of lower low at about $6 or 601 before swinging to a higher low, and most likely what would be a breakout out of this, right? And I didn't cover it. I wanted to cover it though. What I find fascinating is on Wendy's is, where is it? Where the frick is it? Analyst ratings, right? Where are you? Fair value, 5-star research report, fair value 1850. Where are you trading at, traders? 754. So there's a significant opportunity on Wendy's, I believe. Whether or not that pans out, right, we're going to see. But I do truthfully believe that this thing is gearing up for something kind of special here. But it is always good to acknowledge the downside risk, right? Because when you make that risk to reward calculation, right, you're risking 20%, maybe 17% for what could be an absolute banger, right? Looking at this, zooming out further and further and further, $18, traders, is all the way up here, right? 150%. And truthfully, we haven't even gotten into any of the other crazy stuff. Looking at the daily time frame. So looking on Webull, let's get into the EMAs, right? A little bit further dive into Wendy's. Go to the daily. So you're finding support off of the 50-day EMA, traders. That is overall bullish as the volume deteriorates each and every single day. You've seen a lower volume bar, which means consolidation here. If you can find a blip, a candle above this 9-day that you've rejected now, you're kind of pinwheeled between the 50 and the 9. One of those is going to win. If you close above the 9-day EMA, it's likely you get a push above $8, which would get you above the 200 again. Significantly bullish in my opinion. And seeing this kind of price action does give me hope for the shorter time frame. lose the 50, and it's likely you come down to this 685 territory to retest this downtrend, or this down sloping, what was previous resistance and now flipped as support once you broke out and retested it, right? So coming down there would not be the end of the world and would actually be significantly bullish, in my opinion, right? Not financial advice. Going to the weekly time frame, you rejected the 50-day on the weekly, and you've caught yourself right at the 9. You have the 200 lagging right around $12, which should make some pretty solid resistance. Kind of zooming out here, looking at some resistance levels for Wendy's. You have $12, pretty substantial resistance. After that low and that low, let's get rid of that for now. Get rid of that for now. What else is horizontal resistance here, guys? I would say that, but I'm not going to. I would say 14 is significant resistance, and then you have resistance up here. You guessed it, 1850, guys. So those are your real horizontal resistances, and you've noticed something if you've stayed this long, right? There is not a lot. There is not a lot holding you guys back here if you get above $10, right? If you get above 10, it should be a smooth freaking sail all the way up here. And that is where I think the validity comes in, that this thing can get kind of squeezy, right? If you see up 67%, well, then you have a lot of the shorts underwater, and then you see some short covering, and then you see some gamma squeezing, and then you see some retail FOMO, right? And this thing can get out of control very, very quickly. So to those who are saying that it's a dead stock, I don't think it is. And we can kind of go over some of the fundamental reasons now as well. Fundamental reasons, I just want to know, is Wendy's a company that's undervalued, and is it profitable, right? Yes, Wendy's is profitable, but it faced headwinds with declining same-store sales and net income pressure in recent quarters. Full year of income, it was $165 million profit, which was pretty much half of what it was the previous year. And then the revenues of $2.18 billion, still very strong. Valuation appears undervalued. Fair estimate 8 to 14, right? So that is really validating that you are undervalued at this point. And then it goes over risk case, why it looks cheap. Bottom line, Wendy's is profitable with a cheap looking valuation that appeals to value investors. So people, Grok particularly, pretty much saying that this thing is deep freaking value, guys, which I find absolutely amazing. Absolutely freaking fascinating. If you zoom out further, guys, on the monthly time frame, you caught a bid on the exact point in which you had to, right? I'm a freaking lover and a believer of Wendy's product. Personally, I eat there probably once a week. And seeing that you found this uptrend and you caught a bid, right? The most volume you've had in its freaking history, guys, that gets me absolutely jacked. And then off of that, you saw a monthly MACD cross, guys. There is a possibility that this thing goes on a freaking stampede run all the way back up to $23. And that's why I like it so freaking much here. Even if you peel back here to retest this line at 660, potentially 664, the stock looks absolutely set up, right? Because even when you saw a V line out of this bottom, you did chop and then come back to retest it before seeing that vertical freaking price action. Quarterly time frame, still have yet to get that candle, but look at that, right? You've revisited perfectly the 200-day EMA on the quarterly time frame. That is absolutely beautiful and exactly where you found your last 3 bottoms, guys. Your bottom 1, ride the quarterly 200. Bottom 2, ride the quarterly 200. Bottom 3, ride the quarterly 200. So the stock is rhyming the same old rhythm that it has in the past. And each and every single time you found a bottom off of this, guys, massive stock appreciation, 800% value. This one, 1,400% value. This one, 900% value. And all of that, right, is not even taking into account the fact that you have retail and Wall Street Bets behind you on this one. This thing could go absolutely parabolic. So I like the stock. I like Wendy's. I figured it was a little bit overdue that we do a little bit of a technical analysis on Wendy's. I got someone asking me in the comments about it, and I wanted to give some thorough analysis, something meaningful for all of the new traders out there in the markets, because a lot of what I'm seeing is just mindless slosh and slop on this stock. So I wanted to give it its fair run. It looks freaking phenomenal. And for all those who have stayed this far in the video, it would mean a lot if you hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, and stick around, guys, because we're covering small cap stocks every single day. AMC, GameStop, NEO particularly. But if you guys blow this video up, I will continue to cover Wendy's. As always, traders, God bless each and every single one of you. And as always, the best is yet to come. Let's go. Woo!